Wait, I was like, wait, was I supposed to be? Did I miss an extra flight?
Welcome back to the U.S. Anu.
Okay, well, you made it to your intended destination. That's
yes,
good.
That is right.
I like how I message you and I'm like, hey, like, are you still going to be able to get to the town hall question stuff? And you're like, why is this even a question? Of course.
No, I didn't say that. I thought that.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Should we get going?
Let's do it.
Ready.
All right, welcome everybody to the weekly Clubhouse Town Hall. I am Paul, and this is my co-founder Rohan, and this is our teammate Anu. And we do this every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And the goal is really just to talk through what's been going on this week and what we shipped and what we're shipping next week, and really spend most of the time answering questions that people have submitted throughout the course of the week. So we used to do all of it live, and it was like really free form in the early day. We basically have the whole room come up on stage and we would just sort of talk. And then turns out that doesn't really scale as you grow. And so we want to make sure we get to the most important questions. So what we do is we take them in advance. And if you go to support.joinclubhouse.com and you scroll to the bottom, there's a link where you can submit questions for Town Hall. And so we collect those throughout the week. You can submit them anytime. And then if you have a question during Town Hall, you can submit it too, and we'll try and get to it at the end. We try and keep it to 1 hour so that people can get back to their weekends. And we usually go like 1 hour and 4 minutes or 7 minutes or 2 minutes, something like that. But we try not to take too long. With that, let's get started. So let's bring up Steph and talk about the highlights from the week. Steph Simon, come on up. Anu, I'll make you a mod.
Thank you. And there's Steph.
Woo-hoo!
Morning, guys.
Good morning, Steph.
Paul, when you first got on, you had a little twang in your voice. I was like, you say good morning.
Well, I'm from Oklahoma.
I was like, you're not from Oklahoma.
Paul's half British, in case you didn't know.
I know. He actually threw that out last night, the Malcolm McDowell room.
I know.
I'm half English.
He just keeps coming up in conversations. I don't know.
He also lived in Bondi Beach for a time, but that's for the youth orientation.
All right. Well, this week, our team spent time connecting with many of you outside the States to check in and see how the experience of Clubhouse was translating. And as I was sort of going back over a lot of these conversations, it got me thinking that even before we had so many people from around the world on Clubhouse, so often I felt a key role in each room is this role of the interpreter or the translator. And so this week, we took a particular look at cultural translation on Clubhouse. And what does that mean? The concept is simple. Cultural translation is being sensitive and aware of all the nuances that language, art, education, technology, and more, and their impact to create space for the exchange of knowledge between people with different backgrounds, expertise, or a set of beliefs. So this week, the community has hosted rooms full of international minds, perspectives, and backgrounds, and you've supported each other in incredible ways by creating space for the differently abled community to be heard and felt. Thank you, Abraxas and Tiffany Yu. You're breaking barriers to understand the transition from physical to digital art with NFTs, with very special hosts like Beeple, Blau, Steve Aoki, Diplo, Paris Hilton, and many more. Lots of musicians in the NFT space. You shared challenges and uprising journeys in the most intimate ways and rooms within the AAPI community with the Stop Asian Hate campaigns. And there's been several rooms that have been hosted around this. You've utilized humor and levity in unlikely moments and characters with Malcolm McDowell, hosted by Ash Avildsen, and Wesley Snipes, hosted by Nate Jones. We're learning more about the power of voice as an instrument rather than a medium with Roger Lover via the Club Pod. And you've traced the hidden history of cooperation and communalism in the U.S. with ex-Obama Digital Chief Officer Michael Slebby discussing his new release book, For All the People. That was hosted by, in my opinion, one of the best cultural interpreters I know, James Andrews, and The Authenticated. And finally, you've helped us imagine the future of finance, music, heritage, and technology with Barbara Ann Bernard, Steve Martocci from Splice, Dan Hicks, and my former boss, Will I Am. We love to see you guys host each other and teach each other in this way. And like I said, I think you'll probably sit in rooms now and think about who in the rooms are sort of acting as these cultural interpreters. And that's it for this week.
Thank you, Steph. I always really enjoyed listening to the week's highlights because there are all these things that happen that I didn't actually know about. And it's always really inspiring. So I appreciate your taking the time to summarize all that stuff. I was in that room with Malcolm McDowell last night. It was so good. It was incredible. But
my favorite part was when he was like, "It's the drama of radio," and I was like, "Yes." It was, he was incredible. He was.
It was so good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steph, and thank you everyone who Steph mentioned for all the incredible conversations that were hosted this past week. I'm excited to see what this week holds. All right, getting into products. So we pushed a release out a few days ago, and apologies for the shifting timing there. We actually we always try to give guidance on when releases are going to come out. We're usually wrong because startups, but there are sometimes things that we find in QA or like the release takes longer than expected to get approved or things like that can happen. So every time we give deadlines, please consider them approximate and always grateful for your patience on that stuff if things take longer than expected. But we got a release out a few days ago, and I want to talk through some of the highlights there. The biggest one is club creation directly in the app, which I'm really excited about. I know that the support team is really excited about because we've been doing those manually. We've been getting lots and lots of requests for them. So this one is a long time coming, and very, very grateful for everyone's patience on that. But the way it works right now is if you have an idea for a recurring show that you'd like to host or a community that you want to start or a private group that you'd like to create, you can now do it directly in the app. And clubs, for anyone who doesn't know, they're basically like groups, right? People use them in lots of different ways. Typically the three that I mentioned just now. So it's either like one person or a couple people who are the recurring hosts of the show, and they set up a club as kind of like an event series. So you have the name of the club. People can follow the club to get notified every time that club hosts conversations. And then they'll host conversations every day or every week, or perhaps at a different cadence. But it's really like a public event series that they want people to be able to follow. The second way people use them is to create communities. So maybe people are really into, oh man, I don't even know, like street fashion or EDM or like, parenting, or maybe it's like a location-based community or a community where people want to come together and speak French or Japanese. People use it as like a community. And then the third group of people, I would say, tend to use it as like a private organization. So they'll create a club for everyone that works at their company or for a group of friends that they have or for an organization that they're a part of. It's a pretty flexible container. So if you want to create a club for any of those things, go to your profile, scroll down to the list of clubs that you're a member of, and then scroll to the right. And at the end of that list, you'll see a plus button as a place to go add a new club. And you'll be able to create it there and add all the basic information and just get it started. Schedule your first event, invite a few people to be part of your club. And if you have any questions, just reach out anytime. One thing to note is that we're trying to roll it out in a not too crazy way so that there isn't abuse or spam or anything like that. And so we can spot any issues early. So what we did is we limited who can create a club, but it's not a strong limitation. It just, if you've been on the app a little while, if you tried speaking a few times, if you have a few followers, that sort of thing, you should be able to create a club right now. So most people should be able to, and we're going to open it up beyond that, but we just wanted to roll it out somewhat slowly. And then you can also only create 2 clubs a month right now, which hopefully should be enough if if you're really investing in a club. Takes enough of your time that having more than 2 would probably be a challenge anyway. So that was the big thing that we pushed out last week. Really, really excited about that. We've seen an explosion in the number of clubs that are getting created, not surprisingly, and some amazing new formats and creations from people. So really, really excited about that. A few other things that we did in this past week. One is we added the ability to switch to higher quality audio. We just want to test out and see how this works. So when you're speaking in a room, if you tap the ellipsis, the 3 dots in the upper right, it'll say audio quality, and you can tap on that and you can switch to high, medium, or low. High is best if you are doing a performance, you're singing or or if you just want people to hear you more clearly, it doesn't affect how you hear the audio, it affects how people hear you. And you might think, why would I ever switch to low quality? But low quality could be something that you could switch to if you're having connection issues, if your network is bad and you just want it to be more reliable. In the future, I imagine we'll default to just an automatic mode that scales it up and down based on your network strength. But for now, we just wanted to see how it felt. So we introduced those modes. So feel free to play around with that. We added a fix for cross-border invites. There was an issue where if you tried to invite someone from a different country, it might get confused about the country code and pre-fill it with the wrong number. So we fixed that. If you think this might have affected any of your invites, if you go to the invite screen, there's a little button where you can see all the pending invites, all the ones that you've tried to send to people but haven't been accepted yet, and you can go resend it, and that should work. We made some improvements to accessibility and voiceover, thanks to some really great feedback we got from the 15% club, and so that should be better now. We made some improvements to how troll reporting works to reduce any incidents of false positives there. We simplified the calendar by taking away the all events option because that was getting totally out of hand and not very usable. And then we've improved some follow suggestions for international users. I think we've grown really quickly internationally, and a lot of the people there were getting suggestions to follow people that were, largely English speakers. And so we've tried to localize those so they can be more relevant to people, regardless of where you live. And then we also made a few updates to our community guidelines that talk about like prohibited activity and give some more detail on how account suspensions work. Then updated the privacy policy to clarify some stuff and answer some questions we had around how friend connections work. And there's also some language in there around data sharing that suggested we had we reserve the right to share data with certain partners. We don't do that. We have never done that. We have never shared data with affiliates or data brokers or advertising platforms, and we do not intend to. So we just took all of that language out to eliminate any confusion there. So sorry about that if you ever saw that and were confused by that. Next up, got a bunch of stuff in the works for release that we were hoping to get out end of week, which we count as Sunday at midnight, but hopefully we'll get it, tomorrow, but TBD depending on how things go. The main things that we want to get done there, a bunch of work on tooling for trust and safety to improve the speed and quality of the work that we do there. The ability to link to your profile, so you'll be able to grab a link to your profile and share it with anyone you want to tell them to follow you on Clubhouse. Same thing for clubs. You'll be able to grab a link to your club and share that with people anywhere you like. If you have a group somewhere or you have an audience somewhere that you want to share it with. We're doing some more work around language filtering. As we've grown a lot internationally, you might have seen that a lot of rooms in your feed that are not in a language that you speak, and that's obviously not a good experience. So we're trying to automatically understand what language rooms are and what languages you're interested in, so that we can filter those out of your feed for you. In the future, we'll probably have something more explicit where you can say, I'd like to see rooms in languages X, Y, Z. But in the meantime, if we can just improve the quality of there automatically for you, we think that'll be helpful. Because at any given time, there are thousands and thousands of rooms happening all over the world, and you only see a very small subset of them based on who you follow and what clubs you're a part of. And if you want to see different rooms, you follow different people. If you want to see more rooms, follow more people. And our job is to try to show you the most interesting 3 rooms above the fold every single time you open the app. And so we're constantly working to get better and better at that. And language filtering is one that feels like it's in need of some love. So that's what we've been working on last couple of days. More work on improving follow suggestions, and basically like a lot of work under the hood to help with trust and safety, with follow suggestions, with room suggestions, with notification algorithms. And I think it's coming up on time for a new app icon too. So keep your eye out for all of that early this coming week. And with that, let's get to Q&A. Any questions this week, Anu?
No questions at all.
Oh, perfect. We're done.
15-minute
Go during the week, Ken.
What I was actually going to say is, as a reminder, if you want to submit questions live, you can still do that. Go to your user profile, tap on the gear icon at the top, go to FAQ Contact Us, and then scroll down to where it says Submit a Question for Townhall. And we will try our best to get those in towards the end. If we can batch our questions like we've been trying to do, which I think has been pretty successful. We've been able to get through more questions recently.
Plus, I'm always extremely concise, so that helps.
Exactly. That's the other important reason.
Especially about product stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's do it, and we'll see where we get. All right. So not surprisingly, a lot of questions related to clubs this week, I imagine, with a lot of excitement around the clubs being in-app now. So I'm going to roll through a bunch of these. I think it'll be great.
Great.
All right, first question. Actually, it's a comment and a question. I was excited to see the new clubs feature. I tried to create one, but I couldn't. What are the criteria for getting a club? When will it be open to everyone? So I think you already touched on this a bit, but
yeah. Let me just touch on it. See if I missed anything. So the main reason we did it is because if we just had unlimited clubs and anyone could do it, you could imagine people might come on and try to like. The thing about Clubhouse is we're building it for everyone in the world, and the reality is like there are bad actors in the world, and there are people that aren't necessarily ill-intentioned, but enjoy testing the limits of systems and trying things out. So you can imagine if we had no limits, people would come on and just create like thousands of clubs, or maybe like try and like get all these names because they think that like names need to be unique and they're going to squat on all of them and reserve all of them. And even beyond that, there might just be a lot of people who are testing the feature out but don't really intend to host conversations. And so when you go to browse clubs by topic, you go to search for clubs, you might just be flooded with kind of these stubs of clubs that don't really have any content or any followers behind them. And so we tried to impose some basic limitations to keep it to people who are genuinely interested in hosting conversations. And that was the reason why we do it. And whenever we do any kind of rate limiting, it's just to try to protect the user experience and prevent people from getting any form of spam. And so right now, like we actually, like, I shouldn't tell out exactly what all the parameters are because that will allow people to
to do
who
what you just
intend to
said.
do that stuff to do that stuff. But basically, like it's meant to prevent from people who like just created an account. So if you didn't just create the account, you've tried speaking, you have some people who follow you, stuff like that, and it should cover most people. So I think if someone comes on and they're unable to create a club, that should probably be pretty rare. If you find that happening, just check back in a few days, check back in a week, something like that. And if you've just been generally active on the app, like, it should be fine. And we want to open it up more broadly soon, but we just wanted to kind of control the rollout a little bit so it's a good experience for everyone. And the other thing that I mentioned is you can only form 2 clubs a month right now. And like all things that we tune, this should get better and better and better over time. But hopefully, if you've been wanting a club, this should cover you. And it's been amazing. Like, it's been so cool to see all the different clubs that have been getting created. There's so many people who have been on the app for a while, and they're just like dipping in with like more formally hosting conversations, and it just makes me so excited. So can't wait to see where all that stuff goes.
And we've gotten a couple of questions about the 2 club limit, about like whether being an admin of someone else's club counts against that. And I think the answer to that is no, just for clarity.
Oh, good. I didn't know what the answer to that was, so I'm glad that you do.
Yeah. Yes. We like collaboration, so a lot of people want to be admins of other friends' clubs as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. A few more questions about clubs. How do you expect clubs to be used differently now that they are in the app? Interesting, expansive question.
Yeah, I think that the creativity will accelerate, and so I don't know. I think like all of information technology is about reducing friction, right? You probably heard me say that before, and like it's always amazing how seemingly small reductions in friction have a massive impact on like usage and frequency. Like, examples I think about sometimes are like when Netflix introduced the streaming option years ago. I changed my viewing behavior to only watch stuff that was available through streaming, right? Like, it's easy. It was easy enough to like mail in DVDs, but it's easier to just change your viewing behavior and only watch streaming stuff. Or with Amazon Prime plus one click, like very often I don't shop around. I just buy it from there. And I'd probably save money if I did shop around, but it's easier to just do that. Or like Facebook having a like button versus making you type in "I like this." It's orders of magnitude more usage, right? And so I think that having to, when clubs were still in pilot, having to write in and request a club and wait for it, it's just a lot of friction, right? And if you can reduce that, and if someone has an idea, they could jump in and just create the club and try putting an event in the calendar and adding a few people to it. I think that people are going to do it a lot more often, which means that there's going to be a lot more experimentation, which means people are going to learn about new formats and explore new formats and see other people's new formats a lot faster. And so I don't expect it to be fundamentally different. I just think that where we would have gotten over the course of months, we might get over the course of weeks or days. And that's the really exciting thing about it. There's nothing fundamentally different about having club creation in the app.
Yep.
It should just accelerate everything.
Yeah, totally. It's like going from only spontaneous rooms to having planned rooms. Now we're saying planned clubs to spontaneous clubs, maybe in a variety of other ways. So I'm excited.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Totally.
Okay, club name question.
Yes.
Actually, a couple related to this. Do you allow two clubs to have the same name? I've seen a couple of copycats pop up since the new in-app club feature itself launched.
Oh, okay. This is an interesting one. If you kind of zoom out a little bit and you think about Clubhouse, one of the fundamental questions that we asked in the early days is, should we be name-centric or username-centric? And if you think about all the other social platforms and people networks out there, they take different approaches, right? Some are very username-centric and some are very display name-centric. We decided to be more display name-centric because it's more human, and it mimics what you would experience in the real world if you went to a party or a conference or an event. That's why we display your first name only in the room. But then when you go to someone's profile, you can see their full name and you can see their username if you need to disambiguate, if you need to confirm that it's actually them. But by default, we just display the first name, even though that's not unique, right? You might be in a room and there are two people named Nicole, but you can tap through and see which one it is. You can use the photo to disambiguate. So display names are how we typically work in Clubhouse, because it just feels more human. It feels more right for our medium and for our product. Now, when we thought about club names, the question there is, should club names have to be unique, right? Like with people, the display name doesn't have to be unique, but the username does. And with clubs, we decided it should be similar. And we talked about this, right? Like we could say, well, every club name has to be unique, and there are benefits to that. But it seemed artificially limiting. And it seemed like it would encourage a lot of squatting, right? You can imagine people would rush out to try and get the most popular club names and then like sell them in a secondary market. And it felt like it would be unhealthy. And so what we decided to do instead was to say anyone, like there is no uniqueness limitation on the display name of a club, but instead what we would do is we would rank clubs in terms of when you search, when you browse, we would rank them and we would try and find the one that you are referring to. And so that way you sort of have to earn your prominence. And over time, it would be personalized to you. So think about like LinkedIn or Facebook. It's kind of similar, right? You type in the name of a person and many people have the same name, but then they try and show you the one that they think that you're looking for, right? Like it as the first result in the search. And then you can tap through and you can make sure it's the one that you're looking for. And it might be information like how many connections or friends you have in common with that person and what their profile photo is and where they went to school. And like there might be a bunch of other information there to help you know, yep, this is the specific one that I was looking for. And similarly, if you just search by topic and you found a list of clubs and a bunch of them had the same name, you can decide which one you want to be a part of based on other metadata we give you about that, like how many members it has and how frequently they host rooms and which of the people you follow are already members of that club and other information like that. And so I like that dynamic because you sort of have to earn prominence and ranking, and it's going to be personalized to you. And it makes it so that there's not an incentive to land grab on names. And So that's one thing I should say. And then the other thing is we realize that there could be issues in the near term with people creating names that are similarly confusing to other clubs. I think in some situations it's probably not problematic if two clubs have similar names and they're very different in other ways. If anyone is trying to impersonate a club, then that's not good, and intentionally confuse people, that's not good. So we're adding something to the terms of service and the community guidelines to make it clear that that is not okay, and that's against the community guidelines. And we're going to learn a lot about this stuff, and we're going to evolve it based on your feedback. Staff's already been getting a ton of really useful feedback from people in the user community. So that's sort of where we are with it today, and how we're thinking about it. And then Anu, Rohan, is there anything you would add to that with regards to like club names and whether they need to be unique and how we think about that?
Well, Rohan and I were just having a back channel discussion about that.
Sorry, yeah, I had to unmute. Yeah, so we actually right now started with imposing some unique checks on club names, but we suspect that we're going to relax that over time. And it was for the reason that Paul, you mentioned, was folks who was trying to squat names and grab brand names and things like that. So
please disregard everything that I said.
I was trying to figure out, should I correct him right now or should I just let him go?
Wait. Oh, so we do have that for right now. We do.
We do, but it's we don't actually. I think I agree with all what you said, and I think we had initially added that, but we want to remove that over time.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, well, I'm going with the long-term answer. So I guess for this first week or so, that we do technically prevent you, but I think what people could, I think even if we did that, there could be confusingly similar names, right? Where people add an article or like a, plural versus singular.
Or different characters, like ASCII characters and things.
So
I think we should just allow,
I think we'll remove that. And then also, I think philosophically, rather than play whack-a-mole and try and prevent people from doing that, I think this idea of making it so that there's a lot of other information to help you understand which is the club that you're trying to find and which of the clubs in the list you should join, regardless of whether they're similar or the same or confusingly similar.
Yeah, and I think in the same way that we do like a real identity, we have a real identity policy for users, like we should have that for clubs too. And it's like it's authenticity and not impersonating other clubs, which we should, enforce.
Yeah, I'm sorry for not knowing that we had that check in place right now.
This just shows that we actually have debates on which way we should go on things.
Well, it's a super interesting question, right? Because there are a lot of different ways you could go at it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. What's the next question that I won't know?
This next question is kind of related. I'm going to turn off my Slack noises. Around brand club accounts. So a user wrote in, now that anyone can create a club directly, how will you protect brands from having their names used by someone else? Can you think about ways to indicate that clubs are the, quote, original or official account for a brand or org?
Oh, yeah. So this is, that's probably what you're getting Slack messages from Steph about. Yeah, this is a very important point, actually. So, right now, if you think about with people, we don't have like a blue checkmark program. And the reason we don't do that is because blue checkmarks are kind of a silly thing. They mean two different things, right? They mean this person is who they actually say they are, but they also tend to mean this person was important enough for us to spend time verifying. So we are, it's this status thing that you have on other networks. And we don't have that right now because we think that by allowing people to link to their Instagram or their Twitter services like that, you can get the real identity verification just by sort of allowing people to do that. And then the idea that this person is blessed or this person is a good creator, I do think that there's room for editorial for us to try and have sort of like here's some curated sets of rooms that we think you might like, but I think really what we want is for that stuff to be algorithmic and automated so that anyone with zero following can rise and become a creator that's hosting great conversations and and gain a lot of visibility and a big following. So we haven't needed to do any sort of verification program yet. On the club front with brands, it's a different angle on it, and I think it's a really important one. So we've had a bunch of amazing brands setting up clubs, and we're excited about that, right? It's because they're hosting great conversations, they're bringing on great guests. So I think it's additive to the experience for everyone. And what we want to do is make sure that we have a way of saying, yep, this actually is the NBA, or this actually is Instagram, or this actually is this brand hosting a club. And so we're thinking about the right way to do that in the product today. But in the meantime, it is against the terms of service to do that. And if you ever see anyone with a club that impersonates a brand, or if you suspect it from of being false, like please report it, and we will take action on it very quickly.
All right.
All right.
Well, this is still about clubs, but it's getting a little bit more into ranking and discovery. So how do you rank clubs in the topic directory? My club used to be listed at the top, and it's not now, or doesn't seem to be. I don't see why. I don't know why I see some of them at the top, and I want some more information on clubs to decide what I would choose to follow or join as well.
Oh yeah, totally. So club ranking is it's pretty basic right now. And this is another one of those ones where you can expect it to constantly evolve and constantly be getting better, and to get more and more personalized to you over time. So it's also one of those things where we don't want to say exactly how ranking works, because that will allow people to game ranking systems. But I'll tell you some things that I think should factor into club ranking over time when we talk about it as a team. So obviously things like the name of the club. Is the club tagged with one of these topics? Like, have they said this is for people who like X? Do people who like topic X tend to follow this club? Is this club active? Like, are they hosting conversations? How many have they hosted recently? What has been the retention rate when they host conversations? When people come in, do they tend to stay, or do they tend to leave? Do people that are that you follow tend to follow this club? Do people who are ranked highly in this topic tend to follow this club? Like in the future, you could imagine we'll have maybe other forms of like feedback that let us understand how much people enjoy conversations hosted by this club. So it's a lot of stuff like that. And our goal would be, if you're trying to find a specific club, we show you the one and only one club that you're looking for. And if you're just interested in a topic and you're browsing by topic, we take anything you've chosen to tell us about yourself, like who you follow and what topics you're interested in, and what other clubs that you enjoy. And then we show you the clubs that we think you would enjoy most based on that topic. So it's, nothing crazy insightful there, but really it's like all ranking systems. It's a combination of many factors. It should increasingly get better and better and better, and more personalized to you. And the algorithms are always going to change, and they're intentionally not completely transparent and spelled out, because we don't want people to be able to game them, because that would lead to worse rankings for you.
Okay, and this last one, which I actually love that it's related to clubs, but it's about events. It'd be really helpful if we can create repeating rooms with our club for an event series. We can do them manually, but they're not connected to each other as well as to, I suppose, the club.
Oh, yeah. So recurring rooms. Yeah, totally. Okay, so the way that I think about a club is a conversation series. And it's really important that it is tied to that, because if you don't have a conversation series in Clubhouse, what is your club for? It's not a very useful club. It's just a grouping of usernames, right? And so totally agree. Like, we should be communicating that and gearing the product towards that. The only reason we didn't have recurring events in the early days was, this is getting a little bit into the weeds, but the database of events was not tied to rooms. So if you put something in the calendar back in the day, and then it was really just kind of like a heads up, I intend to start a room at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And then when you went and started a room at 10 a.m. on Saturday, it was not tied to that event listing in any way in the database. And so, so what we didn't want is for someone to go create a bunch of recurring events, even if they were well intentioned. They're like, yeah, I'm going to host this club every day or every week, and then it's like joining a gym at the beginning of a new year. Like, it just doesn't happen. We didn't want the calendar to be littered with all of these sort of like zombie events from people that had good intentions and then didn't end up hosting them. Now that they're tied on the back end, we could actually know if someone was putting a recurring event in the calendar and didn't actually start the event. And so we have the ability to do it right now. And I think we're going to do that because it should be easier to do that. And the one thing I would say, like, is in the meantime, the nice thing about not having recurring events is that the people that tend to put them in there every day or every week tend to be the most motivated people. And that leads to calendar being filled with the highest quality conversations from the most motivated hosts. But we do want to add this. We do want to add this in there, and then also having a concept of past events, future events from a club. That makes a ton of sense too, because it really is for a lot of people like a conversation series, and that's another thing that should help you decide whether you want to follow a club, right, or join a club. It's like, well, do they host good events? Let me see. So 100%, that makes a ton of sense, and that's just a little bit of the inside baseball and like why we haven't done it yet.
Okay, that wraps up our club questions, which I'm actually really glad we had a ton of today in concert with the in-app club
I figured
speaker.
we would have some club questions today.
Yeah. So we do have about 12 other questions that I think would be great to get to based on what's been talked about a lot in the community, and we have less than 24 minutes. So I figure we should try to do some of these rapid fire.
I get your hint.
It is a very direct hint. Okay. All right. I'm going to shoot through some discovery questions. One on follow suggestions.
Great.
How do you determine follow suggestions based on topics versus location or language versus shared network? And how can we as users give feedback on follow suggestions?
Okay, so follow suggestions, they're kind of two different types of follow suggestions. One is the follow suggestions that you encounter. Okay, I'll ignore the ones you get during onboarding, but the ones that you encounter in the app and the ones that you encounter in the topic directory. So the ones that you encounter in the app are, okay, well, there's actually more than that, I guess. When you follow someone and you see a list of other people that you might want to follow appear, it's in a little row that pops up right below the follow button. You can also get to that, by the way, if anyone doesn't know, if you tap the little sparkle button to the right of the follow button, without following someone, without unfollowing someone, you can see those suggestions anytime just by tapping on the little sparkle button. And those are intended to be like, oh, if you like following this person, you also might enjoy following this person. And those have gotten better and better. I find those really useful. Sometimes if we don't have enough data on the person, like if it's just a new user and we haven't computed that yet, then we'll just backfill it with generic follow suggestions for you. And but that's how those work. The generic follow suggestions for you are really based on it's based on who you follow, right? It's based on other people that you've chosen to follow. If you like following all the people that you currently follow, you might also enjoy following these people, and they change all the time as new people join, and as we sort of recompute those things. The topic based suggestions are, again, like all the algorithm stuff, they're going to be constantly changing and hopefully getting better and better and better. But they are people who say they are interested in this topic tend to disproportionately follow this person, and they're far from perfect, but hopefully they'll keep getting better. And then language and location, we are increasingly incorporating that because we've been growing really quickly in other countries, and I think it's been a lot of people who speak a non-English language as their first language have been getting follow suggestions for English speakers, and that's not great. And so we're trying to make those more personalized by location.
Okay, the feature suggestion, I think a good one. I would love a, quote, history section added to the app, maybe to notifications. I'd love to be able to see or remember the rooms that I joined today, for example.
I think that's very interesting. Now, the reason you can't scroll infinitely back in your notifications is just for performance reasons. It makes it faster if we don't have infinite pagination. But
I think we've talked about history though in various ways a lot.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's really like with regards to the notifications. The rooms that you joined, also very interesting. And there are a couple different use cases I could imagine for that. One would be to go find people that you enjoyed talking with, but might not have followed in the moment. It might be just for like, memory capture. You just want to remember it because it was like, it's fun to look back on all the great conversations that you had. It might be because you want to go start a room with those people again. There's a lot that goes into that, and there are like privacy considerations too, because that hasn't been the norm to date. But I think that's a very, very rich area that I think is really cool, and I would love to have some more cycles to play with that. So like the way we're prioritizing stuff right now is we kind of think about 4 different buckets, in no particular order. One is welcoming more people to the app through things like Android and localization, and even like creator monetization, because that gives great creators a reason to come on and bring their audience. The second one is just kind of keeping the wheels on as we grow through things like performance and like scaling support and trust and safety. The third one is discovery, which is a really, really important one that's very top of mind for us right now, because as you grow quickly, like discovery can suffer if you don't have the right systems in place there. So we're really working on helping you find the right people to follow, the right rooms in your feed, the right notification algorithms. And then the last one is the in-room experience, to make sure that we have all the right moderator tools. And so the history stuff, it's one of those ones where I'm like, wow, that'd be so cool to spend cycles on that. But it hasn't risen to the level of like the single most important thing we need to focus on this week, because there's a lot of like really, really pressing stuff. And the app works without the history, even though it'll be a lot cooler when we have something like that.
Okay, fun one about language support. Will there be any way to translate the Townhall or new user orientation live into other languages?
Oh, I love this idea.
There are
Yeah.
apparently a lot of community folks from many countries doing these as separate rooms post Townhall. I've seen a few of them, but not all.
Oh man, international stuff is so top of mind right now. So like, I love this. So what people are doing is they're creating international or non-English rooms, for Town Hall, where one person will be listening to us talking, and then they will give a translated version to people who's speak a different language primarily. And I love that. Like that's amazing. So the question is, how do you translate it to other languages? Honestly, I'd love to do it that way. I'd love to scale through the user community, because I think it'll be better, and I think it'll just be more scalable and good for everyone. If there are people that are sufficiently motivated and want to do that and provide that service for their community, that would be absolutely incredible. So like, I think that people can do it without our permission, but well, I guess I would say if people want to directly translate Town Hall into other languages, um, I'm excited about that. And they have my permission as a speaker to do that on Clubhouse. And I think that system can scale. And so I just hope to like talk with more people who are thinking about doing that and see what they need from us, because it's such a shame that things like new user orientation, which would be another great one, and Town Hall are only in English right now. I'd love to find ways to work with the community to scale that.
All right. I'm going to do a few quick questions around creators and monetization.
Okay,
and
great.
then trust and safety.
Great.
Okay, so first question around moderators. The user wrote in, sorry if this question isn't for Town Hall. I'm new and wanted to know what are some common mistakes that a moderator can make. I figured we could take this one, though. I feel like it's a good one.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. So I talked through these in detail at New User. So new user orientation, we do it, the three of us do it every Wednesday at 6:00 Pacific time. And we go through all this stuff in detail, and we prioritize questions from all the new people with the newbie badges this week, but it's open to everyone. So if you ever want to attend one of these things, it goes an hour and a half, about 45 minutes of overview, then about 45 minutes of Q&A. And we talk through all this stuff in detail, but let me hit the high points on moderation. One is, one mistake is not telling anyone about your show. So make sure you put it in the calendar, grab the link, post it anywhere there where you have friends, where you have an audience. Tell people about it, if it's coming up, and just generally like let people know that it's happening. The second thing is, I think that more people on stage is generally good, as long as you're thoughtful about who you bring up. Like more people on stage is generally good. This was surprising to us. Like, we thought it would be 3, 4, 5 speakers in most rooms, but they're incredible rooms that have 30, 40, 50, like 30 speakers, which is insane, right? But it works. And I always say, like, it's, how people talk about Wikipedia as being something that works only in practice, not in theory. Like, it shouldn't work, but somehow it works. And there are a bunch of reasons for that. But having it be more participatory is a really cool thing. And like, the failure state, I think, sometimes for shows is when it feels like a live podcast, when it feels like this sterile conversation between two people. And like, if you do that, sometimes it can just feel like a worse version of podcast, which isn't good. So think about how you can make it participatory. Another mistake is, like, be thoughtful about who you bring up. Some people assume that the best hosts are the ones who are most permissive and just relaxed, and they let everyone come up and ask every question. I don't think that's actually the case. I think, like, a lot of times the best hosts are the ones who have a strong opinion, and they're really thoughtful about how they're curating the stage and who they bring up and who they don't bring up. They kind of look at people's profiles before they decide to call them up, and they really manage that well. Another mistake is making everyone a moderator. Like, sometimes people do that as, like, a sign of respect. I think that makes for a worse room. If you make someone that you don't really trust and don't really know a moderator, they can bring anyone up, they can move anyone off, they can kick you out of your own room, they can end your room. So that's another thing that I would encourage people to be kind of judicious about. And I don't know, the last thing, it's not really something people do wrong, but I would just encourage people to develop their own style. Like, people are following you because they like the way you do it. They like the fact, like, they always know that if they follow you, it's like a nice fireside chat, and it's like really thoughtful, and it's a great conversation. And if they follow this other person, they follow them because it's always a party, and it's fun and participatory, and people are irreverent, and they want you because of who you are. So don't try and just do what other people do. Try and develop your own style. And I'll stop there, even though I could talk more about it. But come Wednesday, 6:00 Pacific, if you want to hear more thoughts on all this stuff.
This is just a plug for New User Orientation. Important question.
Mhm.
When are you going to launch the Creator Grant Program, and who would be eligible to apply?
Oh, man, we've been talking about this a lot over
Yep.
the past week or two. We're just trying to figure out the details of how it should work. And we were hoping to have more details on it today, but then we got a bunch of really great feedback and more thoughts on it. So we are reworking some stuff. So I don't know yet, but hopefully we'll have more details on it next week. But I don't want to commit stuff to that because I don't know for sure. But
By
soon,
Friday
and everyone will be
at
eligible.
5.
I think everyone will be eligible to apply, but I don't know what the acceptance criteria will be.
All right. Well, more information to come on that.
Yes.
On monetization, one of our users asked, "Can I accept payment to moderate a room, or, for example, to quote rent my room to a brand or an event? And are you planning to make these monetization opportunities built into the app itself?"
I am excited to support stuff like this. And the reason why is because I think that it is pro creator. I think it's good for the creator, and it's good for the community if this is done well. And there's so many amazing, funny, smart, thoughtful people who are great at hosting conversations and bringing people together. And we want them to be able to get paid directly for the amazing experiences that they're creating. That we want that to be the foundation for our business model and for Clubhouse as a company, so that we are only growing when creators are growing. And I think brands can play a great role in that, right? I think that if they want to hire someone who's really great at moderating, to moderate a room or to bring a conversation together, I think they should be allowed to do that. So we're working on, like, right now, we're working on ways help uh, to help people find each other and to support that sort of thing, because we really want everything that we do to be creator first and creator driven, and again, like, anyone can become a creator. It just means you host conversations, right? And we want to make sure that you've got a really that you've got a way to do that and make a living doing that. So yeah, look for more on that. I'm really excited about that.
Okay, and last question in this
Yes.
section. When is it planned to open a public Clubhouse API access for third-party developers?
I don't think we have a definitive plans or date
Yeah.
for that. We talk about it internally. We're like, wow, this would be so cool. And the ecosystem of third-party apps that have been built around Clubhouse, it's like amazing to us. It's so cool. Like you look at all of these tools that people are doing to help people like find people in clubs to follow and host better events and do all sorts of these things. It's like it just like blows our mind. We like share them in Slack all the time. The one thing I would say though is there are times where we are unable to support certain applications because it could put your account at risk, right? Like if there are untrusted developers or there are people doing things that we think could be risky to end users. There are times where we can't support those things, but like philosophically, what we would love to have is a public API where people could build all sorts of things on top of Clubhouse, but we don't have definite timing on that. Just frankly, like there's so many other things that we need to build right now, and we're growing the team quickly. And if anyone is interested in helping us build stuff like this, please go to joinclubhouse.com and scroll to the jobs tab at the bottom and let us know. But we don't have any timing on any sort of API right now.
Okay, a few trust and safety questions. I know we're thinking about a lot of that stuff this week on product 2 for next week. So one question around our policies. What types of violations get you removed entirely from the app? Could you publish this information somewhere?
Yeah, so a couple things that can result in permanent suspension. One is verified intentional trolling. So if you ever come up and intentionally disrupt a stage, we have a one strike policy for that. So we'll investigate it, and if you're found to have done it, you're permanently removed from Clubhouse. Another one I think is hate speech with clear malintent gets you permanently removed from Clubhouse. Multiple violations and suspensions can also add up to permanent removal, and the guidelines change as we encounter new situations. Like these policies should be living documents. We should constantly be learning and constantly seeing new ways that people are using or misusing things, and just refining that over time. So that's kind of where it is right now, but it's going to change, and everything that we do here, like uh, we're always very grateful people want to join Clubhouse, but we just want to make sure that we're prioritizing the experiences of the many over the few, and so like trust and safety, moderation, it's something that you just always have to make a priority. You always have to do it, and you always have to just try and stay, a step ahead of things, and realize that your job will never be done, and that every policy, every document, every internal tool has to get better and better and better every week. If you're building for everyone, right? Because like I was saying before, there are bad actors in the world, and you have to build a product that's robust to that.
Absolutely. Okay, next question is around real identity. I've started to see more accounts pretending to be celebrities, and since these celebrities may not join rooms very often, it's hard to tell which account is real. Would there be a way to use audience feedback to confirm identity? For example, if a celebrity talks in a room and everyone agrees it's really them, you could tap a verify button. I think, first part is a good question, and then there's this one suggestion.
Yeah. So there are kind of two ways it works. I'm sorry if someone has seen that. I haven't noticed that, but like that's really good feedback to hear. We'll take a deeper look at that. The way people tend to verify that they are who they say they are is by linking their Instagram or their Twitter, and maybe that will evolve going forward if there are better ways for us to do that. The way that people report um, someone who's impersonating someone is they go to their profile, they tap the three dots, and they report a violation. And there's a specific thing that you can say that this is someone is impersonating someone, and we take quick action on that. And if we believe that it's someone impersonating someone, we remove them from the service, and we take that really, really seriously. So the way we do it today is we allow them to verify they are who they say they are by authoring another account. We allow anyone to report that they are not who they say they are. What we don't have is a way for other people to say they are who they say they are, because I think that could be subject to some abuse. And so that's how it works today, and I expect that to evolve over time. If you ever see someone and you think they're impersonating someone, please report it, because it'll make Clubhouse better for everybody.
Okay. What is your stance on free advice, quote, and in quote, millionaire secret rooms? There's been some rooms discussing if these types of rooms should be allowed because they might expose users to financial risks or scams.
Oh boy, what is my stance? So we review reports on these types of rooms very carefully, and we agree that misinformation related to financial decisions can be very harmful. So the way that, like, the challenge that we think about is, how do you distinguish between something that is genuinely a discussion about financial planning and things like that, and something that crosses the line. And today we have community guidelines against any sort of financial scams. You're allowed to have advice rooms or planning rooms if they don't violate the existing rules, but the user feedback is really, really helpful. The other thing that I would say is we're actively working on ways to distinguish between good content and lower quality content and content that actually violates the rule. Part of the good and the bad of this group structure that Clubhouse has is that there are a lot of edges for discovery. Like, if someone that you follow is in a room, you might see that room in your feed, even if you don't follow the speaker. And that creates all these moments for serendipity, but it could also mean that a room that you don't really care about appears in your feed over and over again. And so there are a couple of things that we're working on. One is a way for you to understand why you're seeing a room, and for you to unfollow the person that caused you to see the room if you don't enjoy that room. And the second thing is working on ways to make sure that your default feed shows you rooms that we think you would like, rather than rooms that we are not confident you would like. Because again, there are thousands and thousands of rooms going on all over the world in Clubhouse. Our job is really to show you the handful of rooms that we think you would like best, and that should be based on, like, who you follow, who you block, maybe who your followers have blocked, maybe reports from other users about these rooms. So hopefully what you'll find is, over the coming weeks, you will see more and more rooms in your feed that you think are good rooms, and any room that you feel is low quality or spammy, you won't see in your feed unless you follow those people. So I appreciate the question. It's a really, really important one, and discovery is so top of mind for us right now.
And I think we said at the top too that we were going to give folks an option to tell us why they don't want to see a room in their feed if they are seeing it soon as well.
That's right.
Yep. So I think that'll be great. Okay, quick remaining trust and safety question, and then I have one more right after that came in. Okay. Why can I see, quote, report for trolling only on some speaker profiles when I tap them?
Okay. So if you're ever on stage and someone is intentionally trying to disrupt the stage, and I think we're changing the language on that from report for trolling to report for disrupting the stage, I think, because trolling is a bit of a vague term. But anytime you see that happening, you can tap and hold, and you can immediately report them from disrupting the stage. It'll remove them from the stage, remove them from the room, report it, and give you an option to block them. So it's really, really fast. Like, if you're a moderator, just know, tap and hold, and then you can report someone. What we find, though, is sometimes new speakers, people are new to hosting rooms, they might not know that shortcut because it's not particularly discoverable. And so if someone were to come up, and this is very rare, but if it happens, it has such a negative impact, we really want to make sure that the product is robust to it. If someone were to disrupt the stage, they would tap on their profile and look for what to do. And it's a stressful moment if that ever happens, right? So you need to make it really easy for them. So we have a button that appears on the profile half sheet for people that we think might be high risk for disrupting the stage. And that's really like newer accounts, ones where there hasn't been trust built in. So people that we think, if anyone is going to disrupt the stage, like, they're probably statistically more likely than an account that's been around for a long time and has built a lot of reputation and trust. And so on those ones that feel high risk, there's a button on the half sheet that says report for trolling to make it really fast and accessible. You can always do it by tapping and holding, but we make it more accessible for ones that we feel are higher risk. And that's another thing that will evolve over time, but that's how we do it right now. And we didn't want to put on everyone's profile because it's like a lot of real estate, and it's kind of a strange thing to see if it's like a friend you've been following for a long time. But for the higher risk ones, we put it there.
All right. Are you ready for the last question?
I'm ready. 10:01. Let's do it. Bring it home.
If you were a user that just joined Clubhouse this week, what would you do? There seem to be a lot of prominent users and creators already. Should we be doing something different than the first users who might have joined a while ago?
Well, I would say it depends on what you want to do. Are you looking like it's really interesting. Like if you think about the spectrum of communication, like on one end, you have broadcast media, right? These are people who are like trying to build an audience and a following and grow that over time. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have private communication, like a 2-person private room. And on Clubhouse, you can do either of those, but you can also do everything in the middle, which I actually think is the most interesting part. Like for broadcast communication, you have podcasts. For private conversations, you have phone calls. But that middle ground, where you have all of these rooms filled with 20 people, 50 people, 1,000 people, friends of friends, people in your extended network just one hop away who are trusted but new to you, where you can meet and talk through all of these things and connect with them and develop relationships and come together as humans. Like that's the part that I think is actually most interesting. But so how should you use Clubhouse? You can use it anywhere along that spectrum, right? You can use it to catch up with friends and just see who's online and chat with them. You can use it for that middle ground where you're having these sort of social rooms and like semi-private conversations with people and growing your set of friendships and learning. Or you can use it to host a show and really be a creator and gain an audience. And I think that this question is probably focused on that last category, so I'll focus it on that. I would say for everyone who's new to Clubhouse, though, I'd really say come to orientation Wednesdays at 6 o'clock Pacific, because we go through everything. We talk about how to tune who you follow and tune your notifications and fill out a nice profile and the do's and don'ts. So come to orientation is the first thing I'd say. And then the second thing I'd say is for that last bucket, if you really want to focus on building an audience and hosting conversations, few things. One is it is we believe it's really early in the life of Clubhouse, and it's such the network's growing really quickly, and I think there are plenty of opportunities to build a following. So don't be worried about being late to the game. It's not late to the game. It's early. The second thing I'd say is start a club. Now people can follow you as a person, but if you really want to host recurring events, then start a club. Give it a brand, give it a name, give it a nice description and a nice photo so people know what it's all about. Tag it with a few topics so people know what topics you tend to cover. Make sure you add your events to the calendar. And picking a regular time is good so that people can know, like every Thursday at 6, I come and I listen to this, or every night at 10 o'clock Pacific, I listen to Good Time, or having it be regular is really good, because if it happens at all random different times, it's people will still come. They'll get notified, but they won't be able to like mentally know that it always happens at that time and really look forward to it. I think that there's so much opportunity right now with like daily shows, like daily morning news shows, evening news shows. If you think about everything that happens on radio and television, there are these repeat things where you can build a relationship with the host, and you could just naturally talk about the headlines of the day and the news that's happening, and you can build that relationship with people. So I continue to believe like there's a ton of opportunity to create this regular recurring relationship with people by hosting these shows at the same time every morning or every evening or during the day. Bring on interesting guests, like Clubhouse is a group experience, and a lot of times people reach out to people randomly. They like cold email people or ping them on on Twitter or Instagram, and they invite them to come on their Clubhouse show. And like famous authors and academics and musicians will say, yeah, that sounds great. And they'll come on. You'd be surprised how receptive people are. So bring on interesting guests. Bring people from different worlds together. Like a lot of the most interesting conversations come with people who have mutual admiration for each other, but they come from really different industries or really different worlds. Those can be some of the most special moments that you see on Clubhouse. Bring people with different perspectives. Some of the most exciting rooms are like if it's just a room of everyone like agreeing with each other, that that can be kind of boring sometimes. You want people that disagree, that like bring different perspectives, that can debate the pros and cons and can have a passionate conversation, and really expose you to different perspectives. I think talking about topical things that are in the news, things that are in the zeitgeist, things that are happening today. Like one of the amazing things about Clubhouse is when something happens in the world, people come here not to break the news, but to talk about it, to digest the news, to process the news together. Like the example we were talking about, a while back, like when RBG died, I was in a room like this talking, and I saw the little green notification coming from the top that said someone started a room titled RBG, and someone else started a new room titled Oh No RBG, and someone else titled a new room saying like Oh God RBG, and everyone in the room suddenly had this realization that something terrible had happened, and you go into the hallway and it was just filled with rooms with people coming together to talk about her. And some people were talking about the political implications for the Supreme Court, and some people were like sharing stories of her childhood, and some people were singing a vigil together, and it was just incredibly powerful. There are remembrance rooms and tribute rooms, and all these things happen every time there's breaking news. So when things happen in the world, people want to come together and talk about them. So talking about things that are topical, that are happening right now, that's always a powerful thing. Um, Bringing guests that have an established following can really help to like jumpstart a room. Like if someone with a large following raises their hand or comes in as a guest, that could bring thousands of people into the room who could then follow your club and kind of form the seed of your community. So that's why I'd say like bring on interesting guests, like host good content that people are interested in talking about. Let people know about it. So you add it to the calendar, you grab the link, post it places, make it participatory. Now, like one other thing that I think has been so cool is to see all these formats that are really participatory and really native to Clubhouse take shape. I was talking with Andrew Lee about News, which is his club, where they talk every morning, and he brings up these guests, and someone will throw out a topic that's in the news today, and they'll spend 5 minutes exactly talking about that topic. Then they'll move on to the next one, and all of the people that are coming up and asking questions are journalists, which is amazing. Journalists from all over the world who are thinking about this stuff all the time. They'll throw out a topic from some totally different domain, some totally different area, and the whole group will talk about it. And it's like nothing you would ever see on a podcast or on the radio or anywhere else. Like it's such a native format, and it's awesome. It's awesome. And every time a new person comes up, their followers get notified that they're talking, and so it brings more people and more energy to the room. It's totally native. Or you look at like what NYU girls have done in a really short period of time. They built this huge following, and they bring people up to like roast them and just to like hear their story and to be funny, and it's really participatory, it's really native to the medium. Or like Cotton Club was one of the originators of this. They bring everyone up on stage, and everyone would change their profile photo to a black and white photo of a famous like jazz musician, and it was really participatory, and it's this incredible experience, and all of these things are totally native. So I think try and think of new formats that feel native, that take advantage of the things that you can do with live group audio and Clubhouse that you just couldn't do elsewhere. A couple other things. I know we're over time, but using the audience to line up guests. So like I remember like Baratunde was hosting a room one time, and he was taking questions, and I asked, who's someone that you'd love to have on your next show? And he's like, oh, that's a great question. I've always wanted to talk with, and he named a couple of people. And the first person he named, someone in the audience raises their hand and says, I know her. I'll shoot you an email and I'll introduce you right now. And I'd love to see more people do this. Like use the audience to say, I want to do a show next week or tomorrow about this. If you know someone who is in if you know this specific person or someone who works at this company or someone who worked on this campaign or someone who's an expert in this topic, please connect us. Like, here's how you do that. Like, people should use the power of the people in the room more often to do that. Let's see. And I guess the last thing I'd say is if you want to get started, just use the app. Like, the room structure is so powerful. If you come into rooms and people will notice you, they'll follow you. If you raise your hand and ask a question, people will notice you and they'll follow you. If you host conversations, if you take part in conversations, you'll just organically gain followers, which I think is this wonderful thing. Like, discovery just happens really naturally in Clubhouse. And as you do that, you'll also find people who host their own clubs, who host their own shows, who want to collaborate with you, because collaboration is a really big part of the culture here. If you want more details, there's a hosting conversations guide in the Knowledge Center. If you go to support.joinclubhouse.com, there's a section on hosting conversations that has some of the more tactical stuff. But I love this question, and those are some of the tips that I would give off the top of my head.
Boy, I don't want to know what it's like if you had preparation.
I do think about Clubhouse a lot. All right, we're 12 minutes over. I'm sorry, we try and keep it to an hour. We always go a little bit over. This is more so than normal. But these are wonderful questions. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for being part of this community. I say this every week, and I'm never gonna stop saying this. I mean, Clubhouse, it's intended to be a blank canvas filled with amazing people from around the world, from all different verticals, all different domains, and that's like the only thing the app is about. It's about people, and it would be nothing without all of you. It's everything with all of you, and it just blows my mind every week, every day, every night that we get to spend our time working on this product, and it is never lost on us for a second how fortunate we are. So if you have any questions that we didn't get to, please come to orientation or shoot us a note. If you go to support.joinclubhouse.com, that's the Knowledge Center. It should have answers to like all of your questions. So we try to get all the most common ones. We're constantly updating it. And there's a way to contact us, contact the whole team. If there's any question that you have that isn't answered right there, or just ask people in rooms. We're in rooms all the time. And like, we are here to help you. So much of what we build is based on the feedback that we get from you with these questions in rooms like this. It's all we focus on night and day. And so thank you so much, everyone, for spending a little bit of your Sunday with us. If it's Sunday wherever you are right now, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope to see many of you Wednesday, 6 o'clock Pacific, at New Year's orientation, others at Town Hall next week, and in all of the amazing rooms that are happening in between. Have a wonderful day. Thank you again.